Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Double 18 Podcast Live Stream Edition. I'm your host, Stephen Negishi. I wanted to apologize tonight. We were scheduled half an hour earlier, but because of my work commitment and everything, just couldn't get it done on time. And, I appreciate my co-host, Ken Fang, for sticking around. I know he's at home right now, around just after 8:30 Eastern. So, Ken, I apologize, and thanks for joining me once again on this Monday evening.
Hey, not a problem, Stephen. Happy to be here with you.
Good. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us once again. If you're out there, hopefully, now that we are in March, the weather is starting to warm up wherever you might be. Wherever we are right now, we're still a little bit. Chilly. I think on my way back from work, it started to lightly snow. So I was worried that it might get really, really ugly in a bit. But unfortunately, even if it's March and we had some beautiful weather over the weekend, wherever you might have been, it's still, unfortunately, that, we're not out of the woods yet in terms of the cold. So hopefully everybody can stay healthy and make it through this month as well. All right, Ken, listen, let's talk about the some of the stuff that we have been following for quite a while, just to kind of a follow-up with you. Back in Super Bowl, on Fox, there was a weird tribute that Jimmy Johnson got during halftime show, or even before that, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
It was during the pregame, right before the game started. There was an AI segment, and it looked to me, to be honest with you, Stephen, that it was a goodbye segment. It was basically saying goodbye. At the time, Johnson said no, it really wasn't. But today on the Colin Cowherd show, Johnson announced his retirement from Fox. He said he would no longer do it. Eric Shanks, the president of Fox, put out a statement congratulating him. And in addition, it was really it was coming. I had a feeling this was going to be coming. Johnson is in his 80s. He looked like he was. I don't want to say he always has fun on the air. He's always enjoying himself, but I think the travel going from Florida to Los Angeles every week was getting to him. So he decided that enough was enough. And I know Fox offered him a limited schedule. So they said, hey, look, you can come on and not have to work every week. But he said, look, if I'm going to do this, I want to commit. He just didn't want to do that. I understand. So Johnson has decided that as of today, he will no longer be part of Fox Sports. And he was part of the original Fox NFL Sunday when Fox got the NFL back in 1994.
Right.
He left for a few years to join the Miami Dolphins. Actually, he left right after the first season to coach the Miami Dolphins and coach Dan Marino. He stayed there for about 4 more seasons. Left there and then rejoined Fox, and that's where he's been ever since. And I thought after COVID, to be honest with you, Stephen, I thought that he was going to be leaving at that point because he was not in the studio full time. But I think it's a good move by Jimmy. He wants to enjoy the Florida sun. He lives out in South Florida. He has boats over there. He likes the Keys. So I think it's a good move for him. And, congratulations. He called his own shot. He got to go out on his own terms, and that's all you could ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Jimmy Johnson had a very good run. There's no question about that. I think over the years, a lot of these studio shows, whether it's Fox, CBS, ESPN, it has kind of gotten a little bit bloated, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the host in Fox cases, Kurt Menefee, taking over from James Brown, who went to CBS and is still there. And right now, in terms of the number on the studio analyst, you have Michael Strahan, who, as you can see there, posting his tribute on X. well deserved. Strahan has a double duty with
GMA.
live with Regis and
No,
I'm sorry, not Regis. I'm sorry. It's is it Kelly?
No, he doesn't do that show. He hasn't done that show in years. He's
okay. My apologies there.
He's on GMA.
For a minute, yeah. So he doesn't do that anymore. So at least he's light there. So it's Strahan, Howie Long, and I'm trying to Terry Bradshaw. I'm sorry, I almost drew a blank there.
And Gronkowski also does it, but I to be honest, it'd be a great move for Fox to move Tom Brady to that slot.
I was thinking about that too.
Yeah, bring back Greg Olsen. It's not going to happen because Fox is paying Brady so much money, but he's paying him $37 million a year. So we're not going to see that happen. But if I were me, I would bring in put Brady in the studio and bring back Greg Olsen. But I'm not running Fox. Eric Shanks is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Fox is obviously going through some rough times right now. Obviously, we touched on it a couple of shows ago, maybe last month, when there was a lawsuit that was leveled against Joy Taylor and Skip Bayless, who no longer works there. Joy Taylor has been sidelined for a couple of weeks now, as her lawsuit and allegations of racial and sexual verbal assault is kind of ongoing. And now you have Jimmy Johnson retiring. And that leaves the question, obviously, does...
And let's just make it that those two are not connected.
Of course not. Of course not. Jimmy has absolutely nothing to do with it. What I was going to say is, as Fox go through some changes, there are some difficult changes that Fox has to kind of discuss internally while they have to, navigate this, lawsuits that they have been leveled against their personalities and executives. You have Jimmy Johnson leaving. That also, I think a lot of people are asking, well, when is Terry Bradshaw going to call it quits? I know Terry is still probably... Maybe this Jimmy Johnson announcement might have an impact on him.
He's already told. Actually, he told our Andrew Buchholz he wants to stay until the next Super Bowl, which would be in 4 more years for Fox. So he's already said that. He's already been on the record that stating he wants to do 1 more Super Bowl with Fox and then retire.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. Well, then fair enough. I guess, unfortunately, the people who don't like it will have to deal with that for another 4 more years from now. Hopefully, Terry's mind is sharp and, and he is 100%, healthy enough to continue 4 more years. There's no question about that. Fox is also dealing with the changes there. Clarissa Thompson and I think Aaron Andrews' contract is somewhat up. Or their contract is already up, right?
Yeah, they expired after the Super Bowl, but I have a feeling both of them are coming back. I don't see Fox getting rid of those two. At least they'll keep one or the other, but I think they're going to keep both. Aaron Andrews is well liked by the Fox crew doing NFL, and Carissa Thompson, she's also well liked at Fox as well. So I foresee both of them coming back.
Yeah, it'll be very, very interesting. With these changes, will Fox be forced to, look internally and then make some changes? With these things, they come and go. Jimmy Johnson's retirement is certainly an end of an era. Where do they find his replacement? Internally, or would they just stick with what they have already and then just basically, don't add any high price, personalities other than maybe moving Tom Brady to, as a studio host type of role where I think he would thrive more so. But I'm sure Tom Brady would never, ever entertain that notion of having to sit in a studio and just watch the game from a studio. So, it'll be very interesting to see what the Fox NFL Sunday will look like next season moving forward with this announcement of Jimmy Johnson announcing his retirement officially as of today.
Mhm.
All right, Ken, let me switch subject. And I happen to be at the NFL Draft Combine experience,
Right.
in Indianapolis over the weekend from Friday till yesterday. And, this was a pretty interesting experience. This is the second time I happened to be there. And a lot has changed since my last visit. I'm also writing more as a contributor for fansided.com's NFL page. So I happen to, want to experience it from, like not just a casual fan, but from somebody who wants to really learn the game, even at my age. I happen to be 40. I turned 48 back in Friday, so this was actually a treat for myself to go there to get to see the game more intensely. I went there. I ran into my former guest, Jacob Infante, who is a scout for PFN, Pro Football Network. He also writes for the Windy City Gridiron as well. He was there with his brother and his father. So we hung out pretty much inside the Lucas Oil Stadium pretty much the entire time there. Really, really fun conversation and listening to him. So I just want to send a shout out to Jacob and his brother and his father for, being there with me. Now, this was actually kind of brought up, Will Howard, the Ohio State quarterback. I was actually kind of interested that, a lot of fans were really, really brought up the cheers and the jeers from what is normally considered to be somewhat of a tame crowd. Once if you ever watched the NFL draft on, ESPN or mostly on the NFL Network, Ken, you never hear anybody talk too much inside there. It's really, really quiet. Occasionally when somebody runs a really fast 40-yard dash, or somebody who, has a faster 40-yard dash in his second attempt compared to his first attempt, you hear people cheering and clapping, which is a normal thing to do. But in this case, it was kind of interesting the reaction that the fans had on Ohio State quarterback Will Howard, because the fans, I know it was Saturday when, quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs, which is all marquee position, and also coincided with the fact that it was Saturday, people came out in droves everywhere, locally, and then even as far as New York. I saw some cars with a number plate from New York and Pennsylvania. They all drove out there, and it was quite interesting. But, the people were actually booing, and because Will Howard, certainly, a lot of Big Ten fans from Ohio cheered for him, but also anti-Ohio State fans, mostly Indiana, Purdue, and Michigan fans were all booing loudly. And he had a pretty, Will Howard had a pretty rough workout. And actually, Shadir Sanders, who is the one of the top prospect in this year's NFL draft, happened to be there and then stick up to him because of his pretty poor workout. And I happened to write this article this morning for fansided.com for sticking out. And then I also happened to put some photo in there because of, here we go. This is my own X, where fans were cheering and booing simultaneously whenever Will Howard came out.
Yeah.
So there was that. No one out of the 3 other days that I've attended, not one people really showed this much emotion against one single player. So it was kind of interesting. I know there was somebody who writes on Twitter who writes about the draft, was very much upset that there was so much people, being somewhat, the fans in attendance, like myself, being unprofessional and being, jeering or booing towards Will Howard. Now, full disclosure, I was not one of those people. I just sit and watched with people there. And what I wrote was basically, for Sanders to stick up, I think it's somewhat of a testament to his personality because, he played for his father, Deion Sanders, which certainly does not need any explanation. All his life, basically from his time in high school in Dallas to Jackson State, HBCU powerhouse, all the way to Colorado, University of Colorado, where they moved together, of course. And one thing that what fans need to understand is that every quarterback who goes to the combine, and I saw this with very own eyes, every quarterback, whether it's Howard, Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe, Riley Leonard of Notre Dame, just to name a few, they throw the ball to receivers that they have never played with each other, of course. And then while they're waiting turns, they don't have time to practice their throws on the side. So this is basically, you just go into the huddle, like in a huddle situation, receivers line up outside. They would run different, routes. Some of them, maybe they have never run these routes in their entire collegiate career. So the timing can be very, very off, which explains why some of the throws were either overthrown or dropped. So, it's difficult for these quarterbacks to perform on the spot. So, I give credit for somebody like Will Howard to at least, put himself out there. Whereas people like Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, who are top two quarterbacks in what is considered to be a very down year at quarterback this year in this upcoming draft, they at least showed up and, didn't do any, single workouts, but they're just basically waiting to do their own pro day in their own campuses with the receivers that they played together for, a couple of years, their teammates. So there are two sides to look at the quarterbacks who did not participate in any workouts, as well as those who, like Howard, wanted to show themselves and try to improve their stock in the upcoming draft. And I thought it was quite interesting, the contrast in how these players approach things. And, and then it was a little more of a caveat because the way the fans responded to, Ohio State player like Will Howard in a predominant Big Ten country out there. So there was another thing that really caught my attention. And I don't know, Ken, if you watch enough NFL draft combine in the past to maybe offer your thoughts on this. I think a lot of people were kind of, wanting or missing when Mike Mayock was with the NFL Network,
right,
offering his analysis. Mike Mayock was just so good at his job, before he went to the Raiders. And unfortunately, he and John Gruden didn't see eye to eye, and he was obviously run out of town there before Gruden also got himself, fired from his job too for being a bad, head coach and a GM duo. But what do you think? From what I was actually in attendance, people were kind of, I don't want to say aghast, but I think your website, Awful Announcing, also touched on the appearance of PFD commander Joey Molinaro, the comedian, and also before that, David Spade, the actor who happened to be in town. And, there wasn't much of the, it's not about just the interaction with the celebrity, but I think the quality analysis that was kind of missing. And I know a lot of people were kind of bemoaning that fact. And Charles Davis, who was a really good, analyst with CBS, of course, and with the NFL Network, was kind of being underutilized there. Ken, do you feel that maybe NFL Network is kind of dropping their NFL draft coverage by, I don't know, maybe going the, I don't want to say the NBA route with, the celebrities and stuff like that, but more so than anything else?
Yeah, I'd have to say, Stephen, that, the NFL scouting combine, it gets,
it's gotten so big too. I will have to add,
Yeah, and there's talk about, moving it from Indianapolis, although
Right.
it's a very central location. The NFL wants to see how the fan experience goes with this. Although, as you mentioned, it was pretty quiet there, and while they do sell tickets for it, it's not a whole big. It's not like the draft where you get over 100,000 people. You're going to get a limited amount of people, and it's also during the weeks too. But it's a big thing because it's a chance for you to see in a controlled environment the 40 or the jumps that they're going to do, the measured jumps, and they try to measure them, the players medically, and that's also where the scouts get to talk to the players one-on-one and have a chance to get to know them a little bit better. um, Granted, Shadur Sanders wasn't going to throw there. We knew that. We also knew that quarterbacks like to throw it to their own receivers. So we usually like instead of throwing to somebody else. So, but if it's also a chance to raise your stock as well. And we've seen that at the combine as well, too.
Right.
So that's what it's there for, is that if your stock or if you're not well known, it's a chance you to get seen by NFL scouts. And I think that's what the whole scouting combine is about. Whether it gets moved from Indianapolis, we'll have to wait and see. But the NFL likes to have it at Lucas Oil Stadium. I know the city of Indianapolis loves to have it there because it gives a lot of money during that week, during the 4 days it's there. I certainly would like to see it continue in Indianapolis, although having an opportunity to have it move and maybe travel around a little bit might be something in the docket. But right now, because Indianapolis is just centrally located in the central time
Right.
zone, it's easy for everybody to get to, and it's a nice walking city as well.
And it was actually. And I'm located in Michigan, so it certainly helped that driving there wasn't all that difficult. Thankfully the weather was very nice too. From leaving from Michigan, driving through Ohio and entering Indianapolis as well, the weather was wonderful as well. It was pretty much sun throughout the entire time I was there. Like you said, it was centrally located, and the NFL people seem to like that location very much so as well. And I do kind of see maybe that the NFL might want to take this on the road, like kind of like a vagabond tour, like they did with the NFL draft, which has become such a massive event itself. Okay.
Right.
I don't know if NFL would, completely get away from Indianapolis. I hope not. I think it's a wonderful event. I even went to St. Elmo's Steakhouse, which has been a staple in the NFL draft community, or during the NFL draft combine in that city. It's
Right.
a famous steakhouse known for its shrimp cocktail. And I actually had that shrimp cocktail, believe it or not. It was quite an experience. That horseradish sauce was really burn or wake up. So I couldn't finish the steak, and it was quite a pricey meal. But again, it was my birthday, so I just wanted to go there and had a
Sure.
meal there. Say, hey, I went there. I had that experience, just like every NFL GM, scouts, agents, and famous NFL people usually go there and eat. I did not see anybody notable that I would see, in the NFL draft circle. I'm sure there was some people there. I went there Friday at 8 o'clock, so maybe it was a little bit early, but maybe I just probably didn't know anybody that I would be at least familiar with the
Right.
inside the St. Elmo's. Actually, the Jacob Infante and his family went to Harry and Izzy's, which was actually literally next door, another steak and seafood place. I saw Peter Schrager walk in there. And then one of the stars in the this year's combine, safety Nick M.M. Warrior from South Carolina, who had a phenomenal workout on Friday. Apparently, Jacob was only and his family was sitting 15 feet away from Nick Emmanwori. I think he was probably dining with his agent and his family members or somewhat. So I probably missed out on the the restaurant there. But nonetheless, I had a phenomenal experience going to the NFL scouting combine, and I hope to go back there again. Whether it's in Indianapolis or somewhere else, where the NFL decided to take it away. So and I strongly suggest anybody who always watch the NFL Draft Combine on television, to go to Indianapolis, because it's a really nice city. I even went to JW Marriott before and afterwards, where a lot of players, GMs, team presidents, and everybody from I think I even saw Greg Cosell and Andy Staples sitting in a chair in the lounge there on a Friday night. There's this famous sports bar in JW Marriott downtown. It's a massive, massive building. You cannot miss this, with the JW Marriott logo on the outside of the building. Such a tall building. It's a bar called, High Velocity. That's where a lot of people hang out. Very famous people. 2 years ago, I saw Mina Kimes there, walking around. I shook her hands, but that was as far as it went.
Right.
Pete Prisco from, I think, CBS Sports was sitting there as well at a bar. So yeah, those are like a real good experience. If you're like an aspiring writer, wanting to meet those types of people in the scouting community, or just opportunity to network, I strongly suggest you go there and meet those types of people. You should probably lay a groundwork for that type of opportunity. I also wanted to say there was a funny incident, Ken, if you know which I'm referring to. Jordan Schultz and Ian Rappaport.
Did you see that by any chance, or did you?
No, I didn't. I think it happened Friday. No, it was Thursday. I'm sorry. That was Thursday.
Right? It was at a Starbucks, because Schultz is.
It was a Starbucks, I think, in the JW Marriott, which is on the upper floor on the JW Marriott. That's where it happened. By the way, 2 years ago, I went to a sports marketing conference there at JW Marriott inside. So when I arrived and went upstairs to the hall where they were, meeting, I did see Ron Rivera getting a coffee in line. 2003. That was a Friday. That was the day also the Bears made a big trade with Carolina later that day, for that, when they traded away that number 1 pick also. So it was quite an experience for me there too.
Right. Well, we all know that Jordan Schultz is the son of the CEO of Starbucks. So the fact that it was at a Starbucks is kind of
ironic there.
Yeah. And the fact is that Ian Rappaport, it was pretty much fodder for everybody on NFL Network the entire weekend after that happened. So it was pretty funny that.
Yeah. I was actually listening. While I was sitting there at the combine, both Daniel Jeremiah and Rich Eisen were obviously in the booth. So I was able to download NFL One Pass or something like that. That's the app you use to download, sign up to attend the NFL Draft Combine. You don't need to pay, actually, folks. You don't have to pay to go inside to attend these events, believe it or not. You just download the NFL One Pass, register yourself, how many days you're attending and how many people ahead of time, download it. And you're also able to get a parking pass to free parking in certain sections. Of course, those free parkings are first come, first served basis. But Saturday, I think I was able to park across the street from the stadium. And they just gave me a stub to put it on the dashboard of my car, and I still was able to park it for free. So there are certain exceptions to the rule, of course. But those are, if you always wanted to attend NFL Draft Combine, I strongly suggest you go there, because you don't need to pay for, every day that you have to go inside to see these workouts. And then one of the cool features on this One Pass is that you could actually hook up to their Wi-Fi inside the stadium, fan audio experience button, and you actually hear the audio of both Daniel Jeremiah, Rich Eisen, and also people on the field who were Colleen Wolfe, Cindy Freeland, who is the analytics expert, and then a former Colt great and hopefully a future Hall of Famer soon, Reggie Wayne, was on the field in between breaks and talking and interacting with the fans on the stand as well. So it was a really cool experience. You could actually hear, and I know you were mentioning about the whole incident being a bit of a father for both Daniel Jeremiah and Rich Eisen, pretty much that day, or pretty much the rest, the entire week there, pretty much. But Ian Rappaport took it in stride. Obviously, it was probably all about nothing anyway. I don't think this is something that neither man should hold grudge for, for an entire career or foreseeable future anyway.
Right. Well, are you going to go to the? I know the draft is going to be in Green Bay next month. Do you have any plans on going?
Believe it or not, I actually went to Travel Wisconsin website and I actually signed up for their, stakes to go attend the event. So we'll see. It's not a bad drive. I know you have to kind of drive through Chicago and then go up to Milwaukee and drive a little bit further up north.
Right.
But we'll see. If I win, I'll definitely go. But if not, then I'll just probably sit back in the comforts of my home and then just watch the whole thing, on television or at a sports bar, wherever it might be. So.
Yeah, I'm actually asking the networks to see if they or any media outlet needs some freelance help. So I'm going to see if I can go over there for the week. So we'll see what happens.
Really?
Yeah, I'm asking. I put it out there on social media if they need help, and I'll see if I can get some contacts so that I know. See if they need some help over there. I wouldn't mind going. I did see the draft. The year that Brady Quinn was drafted in for Cleveland.
20. What was it? 20. Oh boy.
Is 07 or something like that. I think it was at New York City Radio Music Hall. That was one of the final years.
Back when it was still in New York. Yes.
Yeah. So I managed. They gave us a little radio. So me and my friend went over there. We hung out there. It was pretty fun to do that. The NFL sent me actually. What's funny is that the NFL actually sent me 2 tickets to go there, and it was pretty fun. That was like in the early days of social media. So
gotcha.
So I knew a couple people there, and I managed to go. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to do it, and I like it was the only time I've got to see a draft up close. What's funny is that the way that they had everything there, you had, of course, they took out the front row seats and the orchestra pit where all of the teams with their phones and everything. And that at the time they didn't really have those cell phones, so it was all the team phones with the helmet phones, Steven.
Yeah.
And there was a big rumor at the time that the Dallas Cowboys were going to trade for Brady Quinn, and that was a rumor that was like all that was spreading throughout the theater by wildfire. And it was also funny to see the Jets fans who were always there and booing everything. So it's a great experience. It's going to be interesting. It's gotten even bigger now because of the traveling road show, and they're going to Green Bay. I think that's a great fit for them. Is it going to be at Lambeau, or is it going to be outside of Lambeau, Steven? Do you know?
I think it will be inside the Lambeau and the surrounding areas too.
Okay.
Yeah, my experience watching the NFL draft in person was probably the first time was in 2018. When I moved to Dallas several months before in late 2017, and I happened to be lucky to attend the event in person. However, what happened was well after the draft was over that I attended on Saturday afternoon, my car ran out of battery and I had to desperately, my phone was also dead, unfortunately. So I had to go walk a few miles just to borrow somebody's phone to get help on my insurance company to get a battery, charged up. And then also 2021, this was still in the COVID years when it was held in Cleveland. I
Right.
was in Ohio, in the Columbus area. I thought about driving, but I kind of passed up on it because it was still obviously, I was too scared to even attend any events while COVID was still very much at its height, unfortunately.
Right.
And then 2023, I was in Kansas City. I had moved there in early April, so I was fortunate enough to actually attend the event. Again, this was only on Saturday, so it was the last day. Right in the heart of downtown Kansas City's Union Station. It was a cool experience, and yeah, it was really, really fun. And then last year, it was in Detroit, but I was still in Kansas City at the time.
Right.
I had actually moved to Detroit area in June, 2 months after the draft was over. So I just missed out on that one too. So, I've been very, very fortunate enough and, to experience those two massive events that the NFL hold, the combine and then the draft itself. So, I wish you luck, Ken. If you get any freelance opportunities to work for networks in any capacity, I hope you definitely go there and experience it for the first time in a long time there.
Yeah, I'd love to go. So I'll.
You know what kind of role you're looking for?
Well, whether it's writing or working in the production, we'll see. I'll or maybe even if I can get anyone, if I get contact with someone in the league, I'll see what I can do about that. But that's one thing I'd like to do, and if I'm able to do that for the week, that'll be a lot of fun. So, well, I'll let you. I'll keep you posted on that. I'll keep the fans. And now, by the way, if you're watching, I don't know who's watching right now, but if anybody who are regular fans who are watching who have any contacts, or you want to hire me to write for you, or you want to help have me help with the production, let me know. You can DM me over at X or at Blue Sky, or if you have my number, you can call me. I'm not going to give it out here, of course, but if you want to be able to contact me, I'd love to be able to do some work over there for the week, and be happy to do it for you. And hopefully, if you go, Steven, we'll connect. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
We still have a month. We still have a month and a half to do until.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed you get something for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
All right, let's switch subject. This was actually in the news, I believe, a week or a week and a half ago, Ken.
Last week, yeah.
Last week. It's official. ESPN is ending their relationship with Major League Baseball, which ends at the end of this upcoming season, correct?
Yeah. So what happened is that Major League Baseball announced that they were opting out of a huge contract. They're paying hundreds of millions of dollars, and about $500 million to pay. What their contract is for 26 Sunday night baseball games, and also the first round of the wild card games and the home run derby. So they're basically angry because they're seeing like ESPN, which is paying $85 million for Friday night games, and Roku, which is paying a pittance compared to what they are. I mean, basically they're paying it about $10 million for the rights for Sunday morning baseball. So ESPN basically asked for a $300 million discount from Major League Baseball. That's not going to happen. They're still talking. I don't rule out ESPN coming back and signing with Major League Baseball for possibly less money. What Major League Baseball may do is take the NASCAR approach by, instead of because you only have a limited amount of content, instead of trying to get more money from one partner, you bring multiple partners in and be able to get more money. So that's what NASCAR did by bringing in addition to Fox and NBC, they got Amazon and TNT Sports, and they got more money that way. They just split the pie a little bit differently. So I have a feeling that Major League Baseball, and they don't want to lose the promotional appeal of ESPN, because we saw what ESPN did with the Four Nations Cup, the Four Nations tournament, with a great way that they did that. So I have a feeling what we're going to see, Stephen, is that ESPN comes back to ESPN goes back to Major League Baseball for a discount. They sign perhaps NBC or another partner or increase the amount of games for TNT, and that way they still get the money that they were hoping for, which is about 550 million. So we'll see what happens there. But Major League Baseball, and I don't rule out that ESPN is back with Major League Baseball in some type of capacity next season.
Yeah, I've watched a fair amount of baseball games on ESPN over the years. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball has been a staple. ESPN's Baseball Tonight with Carl Ravitch, back in the day with Jeff Brantley, John Kruk,
Right.
Harold Reynolds. And I'm probably missing maybe a few here and there.
I mean, you also had Adnan Virk, who did some work on Baseball
Oh,
Tonight.
that's right.
Jeff Passan was doing it recently. Nicole Briscoe was hosting some of the shows recently. But it's not. It used to be. I remember when ESPN back in the day, when ESPN signed with Major League Baseball, they used to have it 4 nights a week. They would have Sunday and Tuesday and Wednesday night and Friday night baseball. Over the years, the number of nights have dwindled down. They gave up Friday. They gave up Wednesday night baseball. They felt that the content isn't for conducive, so they've gone to other sports. Now they're just down one night, Sunday night baseball. They still have opening week coverage, and also they have ESPN radio as well. If they decide that this is the end of ESPN's relationship with Major League Baseball, which goes back to 1990, ESPN radio's relationship would also go away as well. So this is a big thing for Major League Baseball to lose out on the promotional power of ESPN, of Major League Baseball, to lose out on the power of the ESPN's promotion. So I would like to think that Rob Manfred would find. I know that Rob Manfred, he's not the best commissioner. He's one. Actually, I have very low. I have a very low opinion of him. But
me too.
If he wants to continue, I would think that all the sports, even the NHL, found a way to come back to ESPN.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you want that promotion, you want to stay with ESPN. So I have to think that Major League Baseball and ESPN will have to find a way to make nice with each other, come back. And yes, ESPN will likely have to pay less money, but then at the same time, it'll also open up an opportunity for Major League Baseball to bring another partner in and perhaps make up that lost money that ESPN doesn't want to pay. So we'll see what happens. But I do think that come next season, you'll see ESPN and Sunday Night Baseball still there, but perhaps you'll see another package pulled out with another partner to make up for that lost money.
Right. Further complicated things for ESPN is that there were reports that they have lost so much money with their venture with Penn over ESPN Bet, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So that's a lot of money for ESPN, even for them to, I don't know, overlook right now. And if ESPN is kind of in a cost-cutting move right now, I understand that they decided that they wanted to, skimp or lower their broadcasting rights for Major League Baseball, which was actually posted. I posted a little bit earlier on your website, written by Drew Lerner, about ESPN wanting to pay significantly less just a moments ago.
Right.
And ESPN Bet is obviously a huge money-losing venture, with the betting and everything. It's going to be very interesting, what ESPN does. ABC, Disney, they're certainly going to have to be really in a tight, spending mode right now, and they'll have to probably figure out a way to, cut their losses with the maybe baseball, and then also ESPN Bet. End their relationship with Penn, and then maybe, unfortunately, you might hear some more ESPN writers and personalities, unfortunately, facing a chopping block as a result of this, Ken.
Right, and it's something that, as you mentioned, sorry about that. As you mentioned, it's yeah, as you mentioned, Stephen, the ESPN bet has been not done very well. ESPN and gambling, they've tried a couple things with gambling. It hasn't worked very well.
Yeah,
Um, so we'll see where that goes. Disney has asked ESPN to cut costs, so this is part of the whole thing with Major League Baseball. Um, they just spend a lot of money to retain the NBA, and of course they're paying billions of dollars for the NFL. So it's kind of similar to what NBC did with the NHL. They figured that they wanted to lower some costs. They decided not. They had signed the English Premier League to a huge
right.
contract, so they decided, and the NFL as well. So they decided to let go of the NHL, let that go to ESPN. Then they realized they needed something else to replace it, so they went back to the NBA. So uh, it's funny how these things work, Stephen. Major League Baseball says, okay, we want to be a little bit more fiscally responsible.
Yeah,
We'll probably see some more layoffs down the line. We've seen some contracts, some people who have not been retained, some football writers and basketball writers have not been retained for ESPN .com. So we'll probably see something similar, maybe some layoffs down the line. We saw some major talent that has been let go over the last few years. Dan Orlovsky is thinking about not coming back. So we got to wait and see where this plays out. Jimmy Pitaro has overseen a couple of layoffs since he's been taken over as president of ESPN. So we'll see where it happens. But Major League Baseball, part of that fiscal responsibility, part of the edict by Disney, the parent company, to say, hey, look, you got to cut some costs here. And also ESPN is launching its own direct-to-consumer product later this year.
exactly right.
So it's all part of that as well. And Disney, and while Disney and ESPN Plus is doing quite well, it's not the same thing as direct-to-consumer. So the ESPN wanted to get cord cutters. So we will see how it plays out.
Absolutely. Yeah. ESPN's got some really, really difficult choices ahead of them. And unfortunately, I think, there might be some huge cuts, changes ahead of them. So will be interesting to see what ESPN decides to do, in addition to, ending their relationship with MLB, which I'm sure this is not an easy thing to do, but, we'll wait and see what happens. All right, let's kind of focus on finishing up our show. Another thing that came up during the NFL Draft Combine is obviously Travis Hunter, who is maybe not the number one overall guy, but certainly a top 5 guy in the this upcoming NFL Draft. He mentioned something about during the Combine. He mentioned something about he wanting to play two-way sport, which obviously drew comparison to Shohei Ohtani, who is obviously somebody who has done an incredible job playing both sides, even though he didn't pitch last year. So somebody from Fansided, who's a fellow writer, wrote this, Winston Wilcox. Risk factor only goes up with incredibly bad Shohei Ohtani take. So basically what Hunter said was basically comparing himself to basically Ohtani, and that playing both sides on football, in this case, offense and defense at a full snaps, is much more physically straining than baseball. And Ken, I'm going to give the floor to you. Hunter put himself in a I don't know. I don't think that this comment. I'm sure this was not a malicious intent towards Ohtani or taking shots at him by any stretch of the imagination, nor. And I refuse to use any sort of a racial epiphany being toward because Ohtani's being an Asian guy or anything like that. But I want your honest opinion on what Travis Hunter said. And then did he go too far?
I can't really comment. I don't know this story. I haven't read it. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. So I really can't comment on it, Stephen. I'm not familiar with it at all. If you have an opinion on it, you go right. I have to defer to you on this one, but I didn't. This is the first I'm hearing of it. So I don't know the comparison. I don't know what Travis Hunter said. So again, I'm just gonna have to defer to you on that.
Okay. Well, I'll try. I'll try and say with utmost respect. I think even anybody would who saw college football last 2 years, Travis Hunter has been incredible.
Right.
Him winning the Heisman Trophy last year, I thought it was well deserving. There's no question about that. He was incredible as a receiver as well as playing cornerback. Basically, pretty much well over 1,000 snaps on both sides of the ball. And he was very much an instrumental in helping elevate the Colorado Buffaloes program from a dead in the water program in the Pac-10, moving to Big 12 in their first season, and they won 9 games with Deion Sanders. So I'm not going to slight anybody, especially like Travis Hunter, for what he accomplished this past year. Now, he hasn't played a single down in the NFL yet. And, he wants to play both sides. And I understand, you feel confident about what you accomplish. You want a Heisman playing both sides. And you want to do both ways because you feel like you could do it. You've already proven in a college level. And I understand you feel like, okay, I can do this in the NFL level. Back in the way back, maybe in the 30s, 40s, or even 50s, players play both sides. Chuck Bednarik, Jim Otto, George Blanda, who played quarterback and punter. Like just to name a few. This is not an outlier. This
Deion Sanders too. Deion Sanders.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. And what better person to learn about playing both sides and the importance and the intricacy than Deion Sanders.
Right.
So it's understandable. He's like, I learned from the best, one of the greatest as a two-way player, not just in football, but he also played baseball and football together at one point.
Right.
So it's understandable. He felt, like I wouldn't want to say cocky by any stretch of the imagination. Maybe, Hunter himself earned that kind of right. When you play 2 sports and win a Heisman Trophy. Yeah, I understand. But I think, in my opinion, hitting baseball, I know Chad Ochocinco said it best today on ESPN, hitting baseball is harder, and then keeping women happy is the hardest thing in the world to do. That's what he said, actually, believe it or not, on First Take. So, I understand that, in Ohtani's case, he has actually, did suffer Tommy John twice in his career since coming here. So even Ohtani himself is not an outlier, but last year was an incredible season because he was able to focus on his hitting. But even still then, you have to be able to take care of your own self. And as great of a player Ohtani is, he still could not pitch last year. So he had to focus on one thing, and then ended up, having an incredible, season where he became the first player in history to go 50-50. So, I don't know if blurting it out about, comparing himself to Ohtani and then thinking that playing football both ways is much more physical. And I understand that the physicality, obviously, tackling and being tackled on a regular basis, you have 17 games now. It's a little more difficult in the NFL. And then if you also include the fact that you travel to overseas now, and then playing Thursday night football on short days' notice, those things you have to factor that in. And I think I'll be very interesting to see if this conversation, I'm sure, if this comment comes back to bite him, because he wants to play 2 sports, and that's something that teams will have to figure it out. Okay, what's his best position? Is it cornerback, wide receiver? And can we satisfy him, enough to come up with a package whether it's on offense or defense. And, he's not a real big guy by any stretch of the imagination. I think he's sub 200. So, he's going to have to really, really take care of himself. And the physicality of the league, the NFL, where players are bigger, faster, and, with the advancement in sports science and nutrition, obviously, you're going to have to deal with the bigger and faster players on a longer schedule. So
Right.
I'm very curious to see what kind of risk Hunter puts himself, not just for playing both sides if he wishes, but at the same time, if he can't live up to his end of the bargain, these types of comments usually comes back to haunt and bite the players for being, arrogant. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Again, I really can't comment on this. It's the first I heard of it. There's definitely some confidence that Travis Hunter is showing. I don't want to say arrogance, not knowing this whole story, but he feels that, and comparing yourself to an athlete in another sport is always difficult because
the rules are different, and the game amounts and everything's the time and everything. Those are always different. Yeah.
And if you're a baseball player saying you're comparing yourself to Ohtani, that's one thing. Or if you're a football player, comparing yourself to Travis Hunter, that's another. But it's difficult just to say, hey, look, I'm kind of like Ohtani here, or I'm better than Ohtani. It's just. It's a little silly. And I think, as you mentioned, Travis Hunter's young. I think probably 10 years. If he was an older gentleman in his 30s, he's going to make that comment. But, you're full of confidence, and you don't think anybody, you're 23 or you're 24, and you're thinking that, you're unbeatable. You'll learn a few things. But, like I said, I don't think I'm not going to say if he was malicious at all. I'm not too sure. I have to see the whole quote on it, Stephen, to get a whole idea of it. But, I think it's a lesson that, Travis Hunter is going to learn that sometimes saying nothing is the best thing he could do rather than trying to be funny.
No, I understand. Let's see what happens. Hopefully he has a very productive career, and hopefully that, he is able to prove himself playing two sports. I'm sorry, not two sports, two positions in a demanding sports as football. Maybe he can become like the NFL version of Ohtani. But
right.
We'll see if physically, if he's able to hold up for how long, if he has to focus on one position, or unfortunately, maybe injury becomes such a big problem for him that he might be out of the league in maybe less than 6-7 years, unfortunately. But we shall see.
Right.
Anything else you want to add, Ken?
Well, I'll just really quickly. I know that we don't really focus on wrestling here because it is sports entertainment, but last Saturday during the Elimination Chamber, John Cena, who has been in wrestling for 22 years, finally turned heel in his retire in a moment which was called the biggest decision since LeBron James decided to go to Miami. Cody Rhodes was trying to decide whether he was going to be allow himself to be to The Rock, who is known as the big boss, the final boss in the WWE. Was he going to give his soul to The Rock? He basically told The Rock to F himself. And then Rock said to as John Cena, who had won the Elimination Chamber to go to WrestleMania to wrestle Cody Rhodes, they shook hands, and then Rock gave him gave Cena a throat slash, and then Cena turned around and then beat up Cody Rhodes. The interesting thing, Steven, is that people still don't know why Travis Scott, the rapper, was there. But it's interesting to see that. But I just wanted to mention that it was kind of fun to watch. I was watching that on Saturday on Netflix. The Elimination Chamber, the premiere live event. It's being talked about all weekend, along with the Oscars. Stephen, John Cena turned a heel for the first time in 22 years. He's what's interesting, Steven, is that John Cena does a lot of things with Make-A-Wish. He disappointed a lot. There's videos all over the internet of kids crying,
Yeah.
of Cena turning heel. But you know what? What's interesting
Well,
is
he's
that
not a heel in real life. I'll just say that.
no,
Of
he's not a
course,
heel.
it's applicable for people like Rock and the others too. Of course,
Yeah,
that's just
but you
the
know,
character they play.
yeah, it's a character, and I have a feeling that Cena is on his retirement tour. He won't be able to. He's saying that this is his last year. He's going to wrestle because of his age, and I do believe that. I think before he leaves, he will probably turn around and do another character.
I know he kind of made a hint that this might be his last hurrah. What was that, last year when he
Yeah,
made his return?
he's retired. He's basically said because of his commitments, he's no longer going to wrestle. I do believe that. I don't think he's going to wrestle again because of his age. He's now like almost 50, Steven. So, and while you never say never with wrestlers, it's kind of funny because wrestlers always seem to come back in. I don't think Cena's going to come back, but I do think before all said and done this year, because he's going to wrestle at WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes as a heel. I think before his time is done this year, in 2025, he'll probably turn back to babyface one more time. Anyway, just wanted to mention that. It's just things of that. And also congratulations to Sean Baker, the director, the writer, the editor, and producer of Anora, winning the Best Picture for the Oscars last night. And also Mikey Madison winning Best Actress, upsetting Demi Moore last night. But Honora winning the big awards, 5 awards, 5 Oscars, including Best Director, Best Picture, and Best Actress, all last night at the Academy Awards.
All right. Well, on that note, we'll end our another episode of the Double A Team Podcast live stream edition. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Ken, thank you as always for joining me tonight. I apologize for being a little bit late and
no problem.
having to. I know you have to get up early in the morning tomorrow for work as well. So thank you for staying with us tonight. And thank you for joining us as always. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. The past as well as tonight's show, it can be found on youtube.com/@fangsbites. I can be also found on Twitter at Bears fan Steven now on X. I also write for fansided.com, NFL news section as well. Ken, as you can see there, can be found on fangspike.bsky.social. It's Blue Sky as well. Ken, thank you very much for joining me tonight, as always.
Thank you, Steven. And again, if you're looking for some freelance work from me during the NFL draft, or if you're a network looking like ESPN or NFL Network looking for some help with the production side, let me know. I would love to go and help out. I'll be happy to drive to Green Bay. You won't have to pay me. You won't have to pay for a flight. I'll be happy to drive there. Hopefully, Steven, if you go, we'll meet up there and maybe we'll do a live stream from there. We'll never know.
Absolutely.
So,
all right.
Thanks for watching us tonight, and thanks to the 90 people who stayed with us at what is it right now? It's 9:39, so it's almost 9:40. So we thank you very much for being with us
late.
Here on the Double A Team.
Thank you very much, and we hope to see you next time on our live stream. Have a great night, everybody.